I don't know if it's just me or not, but this season is low-key starting to get just a little bit boring. Like, I feel like normally during the post-merge is when things really start to pick up speed in the game. But so far this season, the pre-merge has just been giving us so much more. But hey, maybe that's because that's where all the interesting characters were. There is still a little bit of drama keeping this season afloat though, and we will get to that in a minute. But before we do, please make sure you're subscribed below so that you can stay tuned as we round off this season. Now, let's get started. So this episode kicks off with Mitch yet again. I feel like we've been getting a lot of Mitch content, especially here in the post-merge, even though there's not really much new to report on. I mean, he's still playing from the bottom, same as last episode. He still has no real strong allies, same as last episode. So I do kind of wonder why he gets so much screen time sometimes. And that's not even shade, okay? That's just me wondering how far he's really gonna make it in this thing. So far, based on what I've seen, I wouldn't necessarily say that Mitch is playing a win-worthy game, but just based on how much he's been shown in the edit, I could see him making it to the end and losing at this point. Now, later on in this episode, we're going to see Mitch try to get his old Siva tribe back together for one more vote, just because they still have the numbers right now. But as we see, this plan ends up going absolutely nowhere, which again just makes me wonder why they chose to include this scene in the first place if it's not even going to be relevant. Maybe it's because Mitch was involved. Who knows? Meanwhile, I feel like Shaheen is also starting to look very clueless in his edit. Like, this just was not the episode for him. For whatever reason, he seems to think that him and Kamilla are BFFs out there, despite her literally just trying to get him out. He clearly has no idea that Kyle and Kamilla are even a thing, and I don't even think he realizes at this point just how out of the loop he really is. Now, it is definitely still possible for Shaheen to make a comeback since he has so many strong allies, but all I'm saying is that this just was not his episode. And Chrissy also gets into some trouble here when all those comments that she made in the last episode comes back to bite her. In the last episode, during the last tribal, they showed Chrissy talking big shit out there, talking about how she wanted to get all of the big strong players out, and I'm pretty sure she even names Joe or somebody by name. And this whole saga from Chrissy wasn't really necessary for that vote, so when they chose to show it in the edit during the tribal, I knew it was for a reason. And sure enough, as we'll see later in this episode, this happens to spell out the beginning of the end for Chrissy. Next up, it is time for everybody to pick players for the next challenge. And the only thing that I really have to note here is that this whole thing was told from Joe's perspective. I feel like the edit just sort of portrays him as being super savvy with the way he was able to suss out where all these alliances are based on the partner picks. And I'm sure he wasn't the only one out on this island to be doing this, right? Like, I'm sure other people were looking at who got chose too. So the fact that they chose to tell this story from Joe's perspective does make me look at him a lot more, especially since he's one of my winner picks. Now, this challenge itself ends up being a 3-part challenge that is basically going to come down between Eva and Mary in the end. But of course, Mary is going to drop, leaving Eva to win her first individual immunity of the season. Now, I wish that was that, right? I wish that was it, and now everybody could just go back to camp and do their usual strategizing that we all love to see. But no. Of course, it can't be that simple. Of course, Jeff has to throw in yet another unwanted twist. You see, whoever loses this competition will now be at risk to lose their vote. Groundbreaking, I know. I know I've complained about this damn near all season, but these little lose your vote twists just do nothing for me personally. I think that they're boring to watch. I think that they complicate the game. And I know that they take up valuable airtime that could be given to more camp life scenes or strategy scenes, or just showing us the bonds and friendships that these people are making and why they're so important in the first place. These little mini games and twists that they throw on the show don't do anything to add to these people's character development. Plus, they're boring to watch. Like, this little ball competition was so freaking boring. I did appreciate the strategy that was involved. I did enjoy seeing Kamilla subtly and slyly do her thing out there to ensure that she kept her vote. But still, overall, it was just a boring comp for TV. I hated that Star had to be the casualty of this, especially since she seems just so low on allies in the first place. I feel like she needs another win out there. But you know what? Thankfully for Star, if there was any time to lose your vote during this season, this was probably the best time to do so, so there's that. Meanwhile, during the reward feast, Shaheen's name starts to pop up in some people's mouths, but it is shut down kind of sort of quickly just because a lot of his bros from his bro alliance is in that group and they don't want him to leave. But this is where we're going to hear Kamilla's name pop up as a result because for whatever reason, there are people out there, mainly David, who seem to think that Kamilla and Shaheen are like super duper close. I mean, I know he just picked her to be his partner in the last competition, but that really shouldn't mean that much, right? See, this is exactly why I want more camp life and more social scenes included on the show. Because if Shaheen and Kamilla are bonding and forming a non-game related, just regular friendship out there on the island, we sure as hell don't know about it. So we really don't know if David has like a legit reason to be nervous about Kamilla or if he's just pulling most of this out of his ass. During this reward, Eva also finds an advantage hidden in the chips, which is just crazy luck all in the same day. We're gonna have to wait till the next episode before we find out what exactly this advantage is, but just given everything that's happened so far and how their bond has been shown to us on the show, I really can't see Joe or Eva leaving anytime soon. At least not next week, right? So back at camp, as people scramble to find out who to vote out next, things are going to start to get a little bit crazy and confusing. First of all, we have Kamilla, whose name is being thrown out everywhere, mainly by David, who seems to have this like weird new obsession with getting her out. You know, David is out there swearing up and down that Shaheen and Kamilla are like this thing, even though she was literally just trying to get him out last vote, and David should know this. And this is why I'm like, maybe they are spending more personal time together or going on walks or swimming or hunting or fishing together or something. I don't know. Now, Kyle does eventually confront David about this, but David just gives like the weirdest, most confusing, obvious answer ever. Basically, he wants to get Kamilla out because he feels like she's essentially a +1. Meanwhile, he is just blatantly trying to get his +1, Mary, added into the group. So it's like, yeah, of course, David wants to be self-serving here and bring his personal ally, Mary, into the bigger, large alliances so that he could feel more safe and all of that. But it's like, bruh, you can't be that obvious with it. Like, I feel like everybody can really see what you're doing. So now there's this big push to keep Kamilla because it doesn't seem like anybody else in this big majority alliance is down for this plan at all, which I think is where the conversation starts shifting back over to Chrissy. Chrissy has been trying so damn hard to get this big majority alliance out, as she should, but the issue is, sort of just like David, she is just being way too obvious about it, especially when she doesn't have any numbers to back it up. So during the tribal council itself, things are gonna get a little bit messy between Chrissy and David again when Chrissy starts talking about how she wants to get out all these big, strong guys. And this is where we hear David start to whine about how the guys never do good on Survivor, which is just totally not true if you look at all 47 seasons of this show so far. But I am going to give him some credit to what he's saying because, yes, duh, he is totally a physical threat and he knows it. But I've always just kind of felt like the big jockey type guys should do their best to work against that stereotype instead of complying to it. Like, instead of just working with the other bros, try working with literally everyone else instead. Work with the women, work with the older folks, because those are the people who are most likely to come after you because of your stature. It's not going to be the other bros. Yes, they will try to use you as a shield, but you already know that's coming, so stay one move ahead of them and make sure to use them first. But instead, David here is choosing to work pretty much exclusively with only the bros, and he's claiming that they have it hard on Survivor, but you know who has it way, way worse on Survivor than the big jock stereotype? The moms. The mom stereotype rarely ever wins this game, and they get less screen time too. So I really want to side with Chrissy here, and I do think she's in the right for wanting to go after this big group of jocks. But again, she is just very loud with it with no numbers to back it up. So when the votes are read, we see that Chrissy is voted out unanimously here. This wasn't really a huge surprise overall. I mean, I never really thought she was winning based on her edit, sadly. But hey, at least she went out swinging. Overall, I just thought this episode was pretty hard to follow, but it did give us some insights into some of the players. I think out of everyone who's left standing, I feel the best about Joe, Kyle, and Kamilla. Shaheen did fall a little bit for me just because of how kind of clueless he looked in this edit. But out of everybody, if I had to choose a number one right now, it would be Joe, just because he's been the most consistent in his storytelling so far. And on the other hand, I'm sorry y'all, but at this point, I just have no faith that Mary, Star, or David could win this thing. I think this episode honestly just really sucked for David, and I really can't see him getting the win at all now. In fact, I could see David leaving in the next 1 or 2 weeks. That's my prediction. But of course, I want to know what you all think after this episode. Who is at the top of your winners list? Let me know in the comments below. I do really like Joe, and I would totally be okay with him winning. But if he is our winner, I feel like that would just be so obvious. It might take the season down a little bit for me just because of how boring it is. So I'm personally hoping things can continue to shake with this new majority alliance, but we shall see. Of course, I'll be back here next week to recap the next episode with you all. But until then, bye.